hope you're having a great day. Today I want to talk about the health of your brain. What can you do to build an extraordinary brain? And why is it so important no matter what age you are at right now? You could be 20, you could be 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. If the brain starts to deteriorate, so does the quality of our life. We need to understand that because our brain controls every single function in the human body. It controls the quality of our life. That's why when we feel sad inside, when we have negative emotions, no matter how much you have in life, you cannot enjoy life. The whole point is the brain is degenerating at a very fast pace today across all age groups. Go back 15 to 20 years, it was considered as you age, with old age, your brain slowly degenerates. And that still happens. Aging is a process where every function in the human body slows down. But the point is, the bigger problem that we have today, and you can see that problem sprouting all around you. Before, 10 years ago, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, these were unheard of. Today, almost everyone knows someone who has it or someone who's suffering from it. It's growing, and in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to get worse and it's going to get more. But again, prevention is better than cure. Today, we're up against so much of pollution, pesticides in food, chronic stress levels, sleep deprivation. Most people do not follow the circadian rhythm, which is the natural way for our brain to actually regenerate and slow down degeneration. So we're up against all of these things because it's called life. It's difficult to do it, but it's not impossible. Difficult doesn't mean impossible. Today, the things that you do today, the way that you live your life today, will play a role in how strong and healthy your brain is going to be over the next couple of years, and even while you age gracefully. And even if you're 50, 60, or 70 right now, and you're having these problems of cognitive brain decline or cognitive function, you can still make it better. So if there's a patient out there who has Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, there is something for you today to do that can make you better. It may not reverse your condition, but can it slow down progression? Absolutely yes. And that's exactly what we're going to learn today. I'm going to break it down into very, very simple points of understanding. We have gray matter in the brain and we have white matter in the brain. Gray and white. Gray matter is the part of your brain that processes all information. It contains all of your neuronal cells in the gray matter of the brain. From everything to your emotions, to processing information, to sensory perception, and to memory. Your gray matter is involved in all of this. So whether it's an emotion you're feeling or it's an emotion that you cannot feel, whether it's your ability to perceive a sensation of touch, of whatever, sensory perception. If it's your memory, if your memory is great, it involves gray matter. If your memory is deteriorating, it also involves a problem with your gray matter. It's where all the action happens, the gray matter of the brain. Now the white matter of the brain connects all of the nodes in the gray matter. So let me make it simple. Think of a train station. You have a train station. The train station is your gray matter, where there's processing, there's action, there's integration, there's exchange of passengers, there's networking. All of that happens at the train station. Now the train tracks are your white matter that connects one train station to another. That's the best way to understand it. So you have gray matter. Now the nodes have to be connected so that the actual processing can happen. And that's how we don't forget things. When we forget or we lose memory of a certain thing, that connection is broken. When we cannot perceive sensation, or when you want to lift a finger but the finger doesn't lift, or you want to move but the leg doesn't move, that's loss of sensory perception. That involves a breakdown in your gray matter and your white matter. Now that you've understood that, let's go a little more into the brain. The nervous system of the brain has over 10 billion neurons. Neurons is what makes everything happen. It communicates, it integrates, it sends signals. So if I ask you to lift your little finger right now, okay, you'll do it in microseconds. Lift your little finger right now. You've heard my instruction. The brain has processed it. It sends signals through neurotransmitters to my finger to lift the finger. And it also sends a signal back to the brain that the action is completed, all in less than a nanosecond. That is how amazing your brain is. That is how amazing the human body is. That is how amazing the intelligence of your body is. But we take this beautiful body for granted every single day with the poor lifestyle choices that we make. And then when the intelligence breaks down, we wonder what happened. We think some chemical drug can fix us. It can suppress the symptom, it can make us get better, but it can never fix us unless we reharness the intelligence of the body by changing our lifestyle. So we need to understand that this is the power of our brain. Now, let's get straight into solution mode. What makes us lose the efficacy of the gray matter and white matter? Okay, because we have gray matter and white matter. As we age, it will get less, but we can age gracefully. If we are rapidly aging and losing gray matter and white matter in our 20s, 30s, 40s, how is it going to be in your 50s, 60s, your 70s, and your 80s? Today, people are living longer, but they're also suffering. The quality of life is deteriorating. You're living longer, but with suffering. Who wants that? What if we could live longer with quality life? Now, that's where the power is. That's where the beauty of life is. So it all starts off with many points. We're going to go over them one by one. Dopamine exhaustion. When we keep satisfying instant gratification, we start churning out more and more dopamine. After a while, we don't produce enough of dopamine, and we need the next thing to excite us and excite us and excite us. All of this dopamine, the overuse of dopamine, is bad for our gray matter. We can deplete neurotransmitters. We reproduce them again. That's why a lot of cases where you go through psychological or psychiatric problems, a lot of patients are on dopamine and serotonin because their brains no longer produce it, or they have an imbalance. Now that could be a medical problem, but in today's life, if we are constantly looking for convenience, constantly stuck in our comfort zone, constantly trying to make ourselves mindlessly happy, all the time. So you start shopping and then you start shopping more. You start eating and then you start overeating. You start playing a video game and then you're playing a video game for hours and hours because dopamine. You want to order food right now, but you don't want to wait for an hour. So you use an app and you get your food in 15 minutes. Dopamine and more dopamine. Social media, constant scrolling on social media, more and more and more. After a while, you feel good in the beginning. After a while, you're mindlessly scrolling, no emotion. You've depleted dopamine, and it's going to take you time to reproduce it again. You feel empty inside. You have a lot of money, you have fame, you have designation, you have a luxurious home, you have cars, you have kids, but yet you feel empty. Why? You don't have sufficient dopamine. If you don't have sufficient dopamine, you also have an imbalance with serotonin, which is the feel-good hormone. So in today's world, picture this. Most people have more than enough. You can get what you want when you want, but yet most people are unhappy. Yet most people today have a mental or emotional disorder. Why when you have so much? Dopamine exhaustion. The point is neurotransmitters have to be in balance in order for your gray matter and your white matter to work the right way. The next thing, too much of TV, too much of content consumption. Your brain has so much of matter. You cannot go on overloading your brain. You know what happens when you overload anything. It breaks down. It degenerates faster and faster. So use social media, watch television, consume content, but you gotta know where to draw the line. You gotta know when too much is becoming too much. It's like reels. People watch 10 to 15 to 20 reels in a day, and it's entertaining. But ask them, what did you learn from the reel or what do you remember? Most people can't remember the first reel that they watched. Why? Because these are 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds of entertainment to stimulate dopamine. But it doesn't mean that you're learning from any of the reels. They're feel-good factors. Feel-good factors happen with dopamine and serotonin. The more you feel good by exhausting dopamine and serotonin, the lesser you have of it. And that's why you feel after a while numb, empty, bored, dissatisfied, frustrated. Sleep deprivation is the biggest way to deplete your gray matter and your white matter. Your brain needs time to recover. Your brain needs time to regenerate neurons. It has to regenerate. It can only happen in a state of complete rest, which is sleep. So if you are sleep deprived every night, you are going to have cognitive problems. Okay? You are going to have it for sure. Not now, not next week, not next month. It's eventually going to happen because you're creating degeneration right now. So you may be that young kid saying that, oh, I can do it, nothing's happening to me. It is happening to you. It's not just going to show up right now. It's going to show up much, much later. So all it requires is balance. You're a teenager, kid, fine. Party on the weekend, stay up late at night. But if you're doing it every day, you got to understand your brain hasn't changed. Your brain doesn't have to support that. Your brain will start to degenerate. Chronic stress. If you're chronically stressed, if you're chronically angry, you're chronically negative, you are damaging gray matter and white matter in your brain. It is going to show its effects at some point. Lack of micronutrients, vitamin B12, vitamin D3, your polyphenols, your flavonoids, all of these things, your anthocyanins, which are found in your fruits, your vegetables. We talk about food later. If you have a micro deficiency right now, your brain doesn't have what it needs to regenerate. If it doesn't have what it needs to regenerate, you degenerate. It's as simple as that. So your micronutrients and food plays a massive role. Binge drinking alcohol. Every time you binge drink alcohol, you have started the slow poisoning of your brain. It's as simple as that. And so is it with banned substances, with marijuana, with everything else. Marijuana is not the problem. The problem is the overuse of marijuana. Marijuana, when used medically, in controlled environments, in controlled dosages, is not a problem at all. But the point is, when you continue to do it all the time, you binge drink, you binge smoke, you binge consume, banned substances, it is degenerating your brain, whether you like it or not, period. And then you have examples of autoimmune conditions like multiple sclerosis that destroys the myelin sheath, the insulation of your pathways that carry neurotransmitters. So you see, you have all of these things. Now let's go into solution mode. Can you improve gray matter? Absolutely yes. Can you improve white matter? Absolutely yes. And the solutions are phenomenal. Phenomenal. Let's start off with meditation, or simple 10-minute meditation or 10-minute practices of mindfulness. These could be guided meditations. It could be you sitting mindfully in nature, listening to the birds, watching a sunset. It doesn't matter as long as it's pure mindfulness and meditation. It releases a protein called the brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This is a BDF. What this protein does is it has the ability to repair damaged gray matter and white matter. This is scientifically proven today. There is so much of science showing us the impact of meditation. You can't meditate, that's okay. Mindfulness. Be in mindfulness for a minimum of 10 minutes to get this protein that can help you with the growth and protection of neurons. Our brain is against pollution. Our brain is against pesticides in food, sleepless nights, chronic stress. So if there's a way that we can protect it and regrow this gray matter, it happens through meditation and mindfulness. The second thing is the impact of food. Your brain is a muscle, but 70% of your brain is a muscle, and the rest of it is your gray matter and your white matter, which needs fat, the good fats. When you go on these fat-free diets, when you go on these low-fat diets, all you're doing is creating degeneration of your brain at a higher level. What are these fats that we're talking about? We're talking about simple fats, your omega-3s. It is so necessary for vegetarians, non-vegetarians, vegans, whatever it is that you want to call yourself. If you do not have sufficient omega-3, you start the degeneration of your brain in today's times. It is so important for that. You may not be able to eat all the fatty fish in the world. You may not be getting enough of flax seeds and walnuts. Then you speak to your doctors or you speak to your integrative professionals and you make sure that you're taking in omega every single day if necessary, if you're unable to get omega from your food habits. Omega is the fat that is required for your brain to regenerate, to slow down progressive degeneration, to keep it healthy. You need the right fats. You also find that in chia seeds, you find it in flax seeds, you find it in walnuts, you find it in avocado, you find it in pure ghee, you find it in pure cold-pressed coconut oil, you find it in avocado oil. So you have enough of food options to give you healthy fats for your brain. We know it's a known fact today that if you have a deficiency in nutrients, your neurotransmitters can't function, whether you're an adult or whether you're a child. So children today who are fed junk most of the time and sleep deprived, what do you think they have? ADHD. They're in spectrums of autism. Your micronutrients in the food that you eat play a huge role in autism, in ADHD, in children who cannot focus in school, in adults who cannot focus at work. Because it's your brain where the problem is. And while you can go on taking medication and doing psychometric tests over and over again, how are you eating? How are you sleeping? All of this plays a huge role. Okay? The next thing that we need to understand is what else can improve gray matter and white matter? Fasting. Again, therapeutic fasting. Whether it's 12 hours of beautiful fasting, 13, 14, 15, 16. When you fast, you improve the gray matter and white matter of your brain. You can fast whether you're 90 years old, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20. You can fast. The point is people are eating too often and too much every single day. When you fast, you improve the quality of gray matter and white matter. And the beauty of fasting is even if, let's say, you already have less gray matter and white matter because of your poor lifestyle, you can improve it when you start to eat the right foods and when you start fasting. Beautiful, simple fasting. Get out of your 16-8 box. You can fast for 12 hours and get the same benefits. You can fast for 13 hours, 14 hours, 19 hours. It's up to you. Don't be a puppet of society. Because everyone's doing 16, you do 16. There's no magic in 16. Why not 15 and a half? Why not 16 and a half? Why not 17? The problem is society likes to put themselves into boxes. They feel safe. They feel secure. You start off with as simple as 10 hours of fasting and build it up to a minimum of 12. And then the sky's the limit. It's up to you. But fasting is therapeutic for your brain health, for the gray matter and the white matter. Sleep. We already said that. Quality sleep. What is being destroyed in people's lives today? Even children. The quality of sleep. And then parents wonder why their children can't concentrate, can't focus, why they're hyper, why they have ADHD symptoms. You look at their sleep, kids are sleeping less than 8 hours. There's your solution right there. And then you want to give them supplements and you want to take them to the US to get them analyzed by a psychotherapist that your friend told you was great. Do all of that. But if you ain't fixed the fundamentals, all of the other stuff is useless that you're doing. You got to fix the fundamentals. So adults messed up their lives and are currently messing up their lives with sleep deprivation. I think the curse of society is adults are allowing their children now to be sleep deprived. And I can tell you right now, this is such a big issue that is going to cause so many problems in society. From children's violence to drug addiction to craziness, vices and addiction, all because of sleep deprivation. Other factors as well, but sleep deprivation is going to be one of the biggest ones. And parents probably say, oh, my child is seeing a shrink. My child is seeing the best psychologist in the US and London. Who cares? You've not fixed the fundamentals. Who cares? Fix the fundamentals first. Sleep deprivation is the curse of our society right now. And it is linked with every disease. Every single disease, from cancer to Alzheimer's to diabetes to weight gain to acne. If we don't fix it, you have bigger problems. So coming to brain health, your sleep is the most important thing. Coffee and tea. There's no problem with coffee and tea. It is great for the brain, unless you're overdoing it. Unless your Starbucks coffee or whatever coffee you have is filled with all of the whipped cream and the sweeteners and the high corn fructose syrup and all of that stuff. But plain black coffee, plain black tea, green tea, fabulous for the brain in the right quantity. At the right time, it is great for you. Puzzles, anything that challenges the brain. Puzzles, crosswords, this is fabulous. Movement, exercise, yoga. Every time you do an asana, because you're coordinating the breath with a movement, the brain loves this. The brain loves challenges. The brain loves anything that requires eye coordination, muscle coordination, and breath, making yoga one of the most beautiful ways of improving gray matter and white matter. Any exercise for that matter is great. A simple walk to lifting weights, it requires coordination. You're even lifting a dumbbell. It requires eye coordination, muscle coordination, breath, strength. Your brain is working at 100%. When the brain is working at 100%, gray matter, white matter at its optimum. Meditation, we spoke about that. Mindfulness. And finally, this I learned from a neuroscientist. And she trains the most elite athletes around the world. One of the simplest exercises, I'm going to end my video with that right now, to improve gray matter and white matter. And that's why I always travel with it, or I have 2 balls at work. The simple process of juggling. You can drop the ball as many times as you want, but the process of juggling, as simple as that. You can see my dominant hand is my right hand, but I can also move from left to right. It will be a little slower, requires more coordination, but I'm strengthening my gray matter and my white matter. Something as simple as that, juggling, or even taking a ball. Remember when we were small, you would find a wall and you would throw the ball on the wall, catch it. Throw the ball, catch it. Try to do that with different hands. Balancing. That's where yoga comes in, balancing on one foot, then changing the foot. All of these things are fabulous for your gray matter and your white matter. And the beauty of the brain is, it's never too late to start. So you may be 70, you may be 80. Okay, maybe you've not yet reached a stage where you've completely lost your memory. If you do these little things, you have the chance of improving gray matter and white matter, and the overall health of your brain and the quality of your life that stems from that is up to the quality of the gray matter and the white matter that you have in your brain. And everything I spoke about is literally free. Unless, of course, you got to spend money on good food and maybe a good omega-3. Everything else is free. But the problem with free is it's taken for granted. Even though you know it's free, how many people are going to start doing these things? And that's the sad part of the world. Everything that's free is taken for granted. The simple thing of keeping 2 balls with you and just playing with that can strengthen your gray matter and your white matter. And this is what top athletes around the world are doing to maintain their gray matter and their white matter. And this is something that you and me, doesn't matter who you are, all of us have the ability to make these simple lifestyle changes. Have a great day, everyone. Until next time, eat smart, move more, sleep right, breathe deep, and remember, you care is all about you.